Hello again, Cons here. I've seen some people struggling with the new AT Namielle fight, so I thought I'd do a video on my method to sort of guarantee the kill fairly easily. Now, I did ask people what they were interested in, and I got a range of comments. Some of them were like, you know, more content is cool, so go for it, which was nice. But also, I saw a lot of people saying the fight wasn't that bad, but simultaneously they were using stickies, which is, I mean, kind of a given. And also, I know that a lot of the people who watch these videos don't have access to good sticky builds or don't want to play LBG, which is fine. So I thought I would show you an alternative that uses some rare 6 weapons, very easy to make. Kinsect, it's not exactly a difficult playstyle either. The other thing is that I saw that the people who were killing it, even with other weapons, were doing it in something like 15 to 20 minutes, which is exactly the same time that my method kills in, except with my method, you're basically guaranteed the kill with no risk of death. And so it seemed like it was worth talking about anyway, just for anybody who's particularly struggling. But anyway, that's enough justifying the video, let's get into it. Now, if you haven't seen my kinsect video, take a look at that if you want, but the idea is you can run any defensive set you like. It makes no meaningful difference. I do recommend 2 pieces of silos if you can, just because the slinger capacity at level 5 gives you more of the red slinger ammo, which is nice for buffing the kinsect, but it's absolutely not essential, so run whatever defensive set you like. I'm running 2-piece silos, 2-piece Goldie, and then a headpiece that has some nice defensive skills on it. I guess the other thing I should mention are the mantles. Rocksteady and waterproof seem to be the go-to for everybody. These are mostly just to stop the water moves from pushing you around. They're kind of frustrating, and also a lot of its water attacks do the most damage. Speaking of water, you can see my elemental defense is pretty highly stacked. 30% reduction on water and thunder, and this is for with eating for elemental resistance up L. I would definitely advise that if I were you. And you can see I've got defense boost at 4 to try and boost those, and also I've got the water res and thunder res on this set. Blight res is nice, but I didn't find it making any difference to my run, so I took it off in exchange for other points of stuff. Stun res is really good, you know, recovery up helps. I mean, look, it's a defensive set, very standard stuff. Palico Rally can easily be dropped, it's not particularly essential. And Tool Specialist is nice because it lets you pump up the mantle uptime, so you can, you know, be affected by the water less. I do want to stress, you run any defensive build you like. If you don't have the decorations to get these sorts of skills on your set, no big deal at all. Just run whatever defensive skills you want for the fight. It's really like just anything you like. It's not essential. None of these make any difference to the damage output that you'll do. Now, why am I bothering with this? Obviously, every time a new monster comes out, I could just say, oh, kinsect build, easy way to kill it. But I don't do that for most monsters, and the reason I'm doing it with Namielle is because there are some tricks that I've been using to sort of up your DPS and just make the fight end quicker to get it to within sort of 20 minutes with the kinsect, so that way it's not too long. And I thought I would talk about them. They were substantial enough to warrant a separate video, so hopefully I've kind of got them on screen now. But just before that, I will say I bring poison smoke bombs and the combines for more, and I bring mega barrel bombs and the combines for more. If you don't have the materials for that, then feel free to just eat for feline pyro, and then just bring regular barrel bombs and then barrels and gunpowder. So the tricks that I use are, well, I guess I'll just get into the run and commentate that as we go. So at the start of the fight, I like to grab the Bright Moss just to get off one of those wall dunks. Now, there are some things that cause Namielle to fall down instantly, and I'm not 100% sure how they work, but my strat at least is just throw on Rocksteady and get my wall bang. Now, to get the slinger ammo that you need to buff the kinsect for this strat to work, and by the way, if I haven't shown it, it's a fire kinsect, the Sever Fire one. I like to do one of my claw attacks, pretty standard stuff, just to get the ammo that I need. And you can see, or well, you will see at some point, that because I'm running 5 points of slinger capacity, I don't actually run out by wall. Like the walls, the flint shot only takes 3 out of the 5 ammo. And so by having all 5 points of this, it means that I can buff up my kinsect and also have the ammo to spare to do a wall flinch once I've what sort of rage mode has expired. So yeah, and it's very simple stuff. You basically just do the standard kinsect thing. You strike for the head. Hopefully the stupid terrain doesn't mess that up for you, but yeah, nothing too complicated now. Now at some point you want to use 2 or 3 poison smoke bombs in order to poison it. It's something like 600 or 700 damage, I believe. So it's worth doing in my opinion. Even if it is slightly slow, but no rush. And I think I will wait for something interesting to happen and then I'll sort of come back. I guess I'll quickly talk about just sort of how crazy this build can be, by the way. You can see that because we're running completely defensive skills, we're at basically 0 risk of dying. And because those... Oh, and you can see me using the poison smoke bombs now. But because we're at 0 risk of dying and we have so many defensive skills, because the fact that the kinsect doesn't actually benefit from any of those skills. It's unlike stickies, for example. So even though it's got less DPS, obviously, than something like stickies, it also means that you don't have to bother running all of the sort of hyper offensive skills and have all of the sort of meta sets. You can just run basically any defensive set you like, and you're completely immune. And now because we're using an old world weapon, a rare 6 weapon, again, you see the kinsect specific video if you're not aware of this stuff, but we're using the old health augments, which give you a higher proportion of your health, of the damage that you received as health regen. And so when you do take a hit, you end up recovering it extremely quickly. That's also because I'm running 3 points of recovery up. But yeah, you can see rage mod has expired, so then immediately grab onto it, and you can see that only consumed 3 pieces of piercing ammo. Now at this point, it means that I can run out of ammo, run out of buff and then rebuff using that 1 piece of ammo. And then whenever I need another sort of set of ammo to buff up my kinsect, I can just grab onto it again and use my claw attack. As always, you just want to Superman through the Nova. Kinsect, or insect glaive I should say, has a fairly quick sheathing time, so you don't really need to worry. Even if you do get hit from it though, because we've stacked so much elemental resistance, it actually isn't a big deal, to be honest with you. You can tank through the hit, and because we have full stun res, you won't die either. So it is fairly safe to take the hit, although I would advise Supermaning through it. Now you can see I am running my mega barrel bombs, placing them out as soon as I can. Those do by placing 2 of them. Now you can run Bombardier on the set. I actually didn't think of that at this time. However, it doesn't make a huge difference to your damage. If you do use all 10 mega barrel bombs over the course of a fight, you're not adding a huge amount of damage, so it doesn't make a huge difference. Now that it's in rage mode, it'll chase you. Now what I like to do is during the second phase, I like to take it back to the first area that you fight it in. Just because when it flees the second area, it sort of flies all the way to the top left hand side of the map in a far out zone. And there's a bunch of like vertical terrain nonsense there that it gets confused by. It's just not a great place to fight it, and it wastes a lot of time traveling to and from there. So in my experience, also it sort of confuses the AI, and even though it's within capture range, it likes to not straight back to its sleep area. So personally, my preferred method is to lure it away from there, take it back to its first zone, and then continue fighting it as before. And then when it does flee this area, it will fly straight back to that zone that we were just in a second ago. And I think you can repeat that sort of indefinitely, although I'm not sure. But usually by that point, it'll be limping the next time it escapes, at least for my speed. But yeah, you can use this as much as you like. If you don't like fighting in an area, just get it into rage and take it back. Now you can see how little damage we're taking from those thunder moves. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. We can basically afford to take it as much as we like. And yeah, I mean, I haven't really been talking much about the kinsect strategy itself because it's fairly self-explanatory, but you want to aim for the head ideally. When it's like unwaterproofed or whatever the term is, when it's dehydrated, it's not a big deal where you hit, to be honest with you. The wings, the forearms, the head, they're all basically the same because the fire hit zones are so weak. But yeah, you can see he's now dehydrated again, so I can talk about why we were using mega barrel bombs. For the mega barrel bombs, the thing is, when he's in hydrated mode, he takes something like 70 or 80 damage a hit to the head with the fire kinsect. However, when he's dehydrated, you can see now he's taking something like 30 a hit, which is much slower. And so generally, this is the time that I like to use mega barrel bombs and poison smoke bombs and things like that. Like your DPS uptime while it's in this mode with this method is actually incredibly low, which is something that stickies have over it, I guess. But yeah, it's actually incredibly low, which is the reason that all that additional stuff like placing mega barrel bombs and using all of your smokes and, you know, all of that jazz becomes sort of way more efficient on DPS compared to the alternative of just using the kinsect. But yeah, so that's the reason, that's the method that I've been employing. And usually by the time you've used a bunch of items, he's already rehydrated. And at that point, you can just sort of start going to town again. Do be sure to save a couple of bombs for the wake up though. When it limps away and sleeps, you want to sleep bomb it, obviously. But yeah, keep an eye on the rage timer, by the way. He will often de-enrage. You can tell, by the way, in the minimap, if you aren't aware, the yellow eye icon next to the monster. If it's yellow, it's unenraged, and if it's red, it's enraged. You can also tell by your agitator has activated or is no longer active prompts that appear on the right-hand side of the screen if you have agitator on the set. But yeah, every time it... Oh, and I should mention that the flint shot, a single flint shot seems to be enough to get Namielle to enrage. I'm not 100% sure how it works, to be honest. It seems to go into rage fairly easily, in fact, which is why towards the later part of a fight, it can be quite difficult to maintain or to use it whenever possible because it will enrage before you even get a chance. But yeah, you see me using my claw attack because I get the feeling I'm about to run out of kinsect buff and I need some slinger ammo to do it. But yeah, the moment that the mantles regen, just use them up straight away. The points of tool specialists do help with that, and just keep going to town. And you can see how little damage we take, even if we stand through with Rocksteady. And you can see how quickly the kinsect regenerates it, even if you're not hitting a good hit zone, or even if the monster is dehydrated. It's kind of crazy just how safe this method is. Pretty much impossible to die in my experience. I don't think I've died once. And even if you do die, you've got 3 attempts, and obviously you can just take something like Fortify or Feline Safeguard on if you're really desperate. But I don't think you'd have any issues, to be honest. And you can see it's rehydrated, so now we're suddenly doing good damage to the head again. Now, it's a bit of a fine art getting used to actually aiming for the head with the kinsect. It can be quite difficult to do, but you get used to it after 10 minutes or so, in my experience. Now, I do understand that this method is kind of boring. Think of it as a last resort. If you're really struggling with your weapon, then use this. The thing is, even though it seems boring, it is finishing the quest in like 20 minutes, which is pretty much the standard times I've been seeing online. Some like 20 minutes on maybe the later end. But for the average player, 15-20 minutes seems about like what it's taking for them to do Arc-Tempered Namielle in. So even though it's kind of feels slow and tedious, it's actually not doing it particularly slowly. Now, every one of those flint shots, by the way, is worth something like 10 kinsect hits, which is a pretty nice time save, and also gets you a nice long opening. Namielle's head likes to move around a lot. It can be quite difficult to focus the head, so if you're in a bad position, don't be afraid to just attack the wings. The wings do good damage, especially if it's hydrated. So yeah, if Namielle isn't facing you and you don't feel like repositioning, just spam it on the wings and you're not losing much DPS uptime. Not that DPS is a major concern with this strategy, but anyway. And yeah, I think I said pretty much everything that I need to say. Other sort of notable mentions: you can kinsect from very far away and be completely fine with this method. It's the standard kinsect stuff. Again, watch the dedicated video for it. Again, do be sure to save the barrel bombs, but yeah, when it's in dehydrated mode, use your additional items to do as much DPS as you can. When it's not, then obviously focus on getting the head and the wings and the forearms and just kinsecting as much as you can. Use the Sever and Fire kinsect. I'll hopefully have shown it off. In fact, I can show it off now. This is the one that I use. There isn't a huge amount of difference. I prefer this one for the 20 speed because I find Namielle so difficult to keep tabs on. There is a slightly better kinsect with 16 points of power and also blunt, but it has less speed. And so I've personally found that this is a little bit easier to use and to get the head more consistently. But yeah, lure it back to area 1, use your poison smoke bombs, use your tail rider, make a nice defensive set, spam the kinsect away. During dehydrated mode, use your items for additional DPS when your kinsect is doing shit DPS, and just keep going to town. Eventually it'll fly away and sleep. You can poison it while it's asleep. I'll probably come back and talk about that when it actually limps away. But while it's asleep, you can poison it with poison smoke bombs on the ground. So just throw another 5 or 6 and you'll poison it again. And then wake it with some bombs and just finish up the fight. Now you can see it's flown away, limped away to try and sleep. I'm not 100% sure how much you have to wait before Namielle actually finishes the sleep animation, but I don't want it to aggro onto me and fail to sleep, so I wait just to be safe. But yeah, you can see, you can feel free to poison away while it's asleep. It will not wake up and aggro you, even as it starts taking poison tick damage. This is why I brought poison refills, by the way. I don't know if it's time efficient to do this. Like, it's only 600 or so damage, but it is still nice. Now, be sure not to wake it up with the kinsect when you do this. Use a slinger ammo or place a bomb slightly far away, like I did, for example, because that extra 200 damage you get from the bomb is also quite nice. But yeah, I've done my sleep bombing. It's out of rage mode, so ideally I shouldn't be using bombs right now. I should be flint shotting first because it's probably going to enrage it. But I am a bit of an idiot, so no big deal. But yeah, the flowchart, as I explained, while it's dehydrated, poison, bombs, all that jazz, because it's better DPS than your kinsect. Otherwise, just spam your kinsect away. And honestly, I think that's all I really had to say, so I'll probably fast forward until the end of the run unless something interesting comes up, and leave you be. So yeah, I hope this helped. This is basically just an alternative for anybody who isn't willing to use stickies or any of the easy strats, or just someone who hates Namielle enough that they just want a guaranteed way to get their tickets and leave. Yeah, I don't know. I hope it helps regardless, but yeah, I'll speak to you in a bit. And yeah, that's all there really is to it. A very easy hunt in pretty much 18 minutes on the dot. Again, it seems to be fairly standard times that other people are taking with normal weapons. And so if you can do it like this, completely brain dead in the same amount of time with pretty much no risk of death. And you can see my set slightly different. I was still experimenting with the set at this point. The set that I've shown you, I believe, is better, but this is the one that I used during this video. So I mean, feel free to copy that one if you prefer. But yeah, as I even mentioned, the set isn't really important. It's just any defensive set you like with any defensive skills you like. But yeah, it wasn't hard at all. You can see there was very little attention paid. I was maintaining a nice medium sort of to long range where Namielle couldn't really hit me with anything. It was often aggroing the cats anyway. And even when it would attack me and I would take some damage, that damage would be pretty much instantly recovered. I don't think I used a single healing item. Instantly recovered by the old world sort of the old rare 6 health augments on my glaive, coupled with recovery app. Yeah, it's an incredibly easy way to finish the quest, and just for anybody who really hates this monster and doesn't want to actually fight it, here you go. This is my gift to you. For everybody else, I appreciate your time, and I'm sure this won't help you much, but I hope you have a lovely day regardless. All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.